Yes, now we're live. For those people who are supposed to be watching us live, we are 19 minutes late, but sometimes this is what happens in property. I still cannot see the wonderful guests that are here. So I don't know if you can. Let me just check online. Yeah, it doesn't look like I can see you guys as of yet. Let's yeah, oh, here we go. Yes, you're coming in now. Boom, there we go. Wow, so we're a little bit late, everyone. So give us a comment if you start watching, hit the share button. Some people have been long awaiting this episode because, yes, this is the episode where we talk about all the crazy and the wacky stuff that normally takes people out, having children, having full-time jobs, the stress, the overwhelm, all the problems, councils playing games, rules changing, and all of that. So welcome to the Business and Property Entrepreneur Podcast. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Neil, for spending time out of your day to be here.
Thank you. No worries. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. And I think a lot of people might be able to benefit it because there's going to be people. So if you've got children, put it in the comments. Let us know that you've got children. If you don't have children, but you still feel that you might not have enough time in the day to do what it is that you want to do, or specifically build your business, then let us know in the comments as well. Because in this episode, it's going to be super eye-opening on how you can get things done, even if you're like Katie and Neil, who have 6 children. I also have 5 children. So we're just talking. We've got a football team between us, 11 children between us. Is that cool or what?
It's impressive.
But you guys have still managed to deliver on millions and millions and millions of pounds worth of business across multiple businesses and build, a portfolio across multiple strategies as well. And is it all in Wales or just some of it?
All of it. All of it.
Yeah. And all of it is in Wales, which they like to add a few other hoops for you guys to jump through as well. Yeah. So as we're getting into this now, just give people the highlights of like, what is it that caused you or inspired you to want to get into real estate anyway?
Do you want me to go? Yeah. Right, okay. Yeah, so how many years ago was that? Can't remember the number really, but we got into a position where both had full-time jobs and working long hours, especially me. I was working away a lot and running a business of myself, of my own, working for main contractors back then, and it was tough. It was tough, sort of doing that and having the kids on, looking after them and that kind of thing. But the main thing is time. We were time poor back then. Everything was a rush on the weekend. If I was home on the weekend, and also running a business, as you know, can be 24/7 in other business outside of property, or if you're like that in property, then that's your thing. But back then it was 24 hours a day, and I wasn't getting paid. I wasn't getting paid by the main contractors, and it was an uphill struggle all the time, and it got to a point where we just couldn't do it anymore. And unfortunately, I had to let the business go when I had to take bankruptcy as part of it, which was gut wrenching really, with all the hard work we put into, and it was no fault of our own, and you can't just keep pour money into bad. It was a horrible decision at the time, but after that, then we had some choices. Either Katie continues working, which she wasn't happy with either, or I just go back on the tools and carry on and live week to week like everyone else. I come across a property seminar back then, and I went along. It was in Cardiff. I went along to see how it went, and I kind of thought, well, we got all those skill sets, so maybe it's got a bit of legs. So we signed up to a little course and we got involved on that, and we thought, oh, this might add something. And then Katie started, I started to like that a bit, and she was like, oh, hang on, if this works, perhaps there's an exit for me as well. So yeah, we banged our heads together back then, didn't we? And we got 2 single lets then, which we still got, and we did quite well out of. And then I can't remember exactly how we come across Real Life, but that's when things sort of really changed. I'll leave that to you, no?
So it was when, as Neil mentioned, like we had to put his business into liquidation, was at a time where so Neil and I have 2 children between us, and he's got 4 children from a previous marriage, and they are a lot older now. So we were seeing them every weekend, and then we had the little ones all the time. And our son Jan was a little toddler, and he had a lot of health problems and was in and out of hospital. I'd left my job to look after him. And we then had a baby as well. And in the middle of we tried to take on our first development on our own, and it was horrible, really, really stressful. Just about everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And this was all at the same time as the liquidation was happening. So yeah, it was not a nice time at all. And I think it's fair to say that our backs were against the wall. We were living week to week. We didn't have enough to manage our bills. And that was at that point that I came across an advert for coaching with Real Life. And what I'd seen through social media posts of people that are in the property sector, this Real Life kept coming up. I'm like, what's this? Who's Real Life? And why is everybody associated with Real Life doing really well, yet we're really struggling, and properties, it's stressful. And that kind of is what piqued our interest. And we were at the stage where we were like, either we're going to make this work and do everything we can to make it work, or we're going to give up. And if we give up, what is our other option? His is going back to contractors who don't pay. Mine was working in the corporate sector, working long hours, and I wouldn't see the children that I just birthed. And it was just impossible. We needed the flexibility to be able to deal with all the hospital visits, managing all the health issues that we had at home. And so we just decided, right, we have to make it work. One way or the other, we're going to make it happen. And I think the fact that we were in that position has helped to push through all the challenges that always come with property. And we started doing coaching with Claudine. Lockdown hit at that stage. And we did a lot of virtual events with Real Life, and we didn't actually do any physical in-person events till 21. And that was bang in the deep end for a 4-day intensive business entrepreneur program. And after that, it just kind of took off. And yeah, we've gone from having no time, lots of stress, no money, no holidays, no nothing, to being able to work when we want, with who we want, where we want, on the projects we want. We get to go to every single activity they have on at school in the middle of the day. We go to hospital appointments. We can be flexible. We can consult different types of medical and holistic practitioners for our son, so his health has improved dramatically. And it's just, it's that kind of life that we always thought, want that and want this, be able to have the freedom that I certainly didn't think was possible, but now we've made it happen, and we've made it happen as a result of being part of Real Life.
Yeah, it gave us more control of our destiny, I suppose, rather than it being controlled by others. So that can happen.
If I remember rightly, you were doing some kind of flat conversion or some kind of development with flats. Just tell us a little bit about that, because that's when you said your back was against the wall. What were the things that went wrong there?
That's post. Yeah. So that's post the single lets. We had 2 single lets, which are easy, and then we decided to take on development. And for my part, I have to admit it was okay.
The build was fine. It was.
But that's not with problems.
The investment side. So, like Neil's background is commercial construction. They've got a brilliant team. They've dealt with big projects for a long time. So where usually it's problems with builders, we didn't have any of that. It was understanding investment, understanding how planning works, how planning have a timetable all of their own, how development finance works, how builders are paid in arrears, and therefore you've got to find the money up front to pay them, how security works. We'd gone into the deep end, and it was, we didn't really know what we were doing. And it was through that project we started to develop our own network, and we got support from different people. But it was only once we joined Real Life that we actually had access to a streamlined system and framework and really kind of solidified our power team around us, which enabled us to then rinse and repeat and keep going. But without that, and without the mindset, that's the big thing we didn't have back then, was growth mindset, how to deal with challenges, how to I guess understanding that this is just part of it, and how to navigate it, because nobody tells you that. Property is not an A to Z textbook. You do this and suddenly you're financially free. And people said to me at the beginning, I remember, oh, you need to change how you think. I was like, well, what does that mean? I don't know how to change how I think. I've gone the normal school route. I did my, I studied at school. I did my degree. I came out. I should know how to do stuff, but I didn't know anything, and I've had to completely relearn all of it. And that's been the biggest takeaway probably for both of us, the coaching and mindset.
You hit the nail on the head. It's the mindset part of it. I mean, it's all very well having all the skills and the learnings. You can do that all day long, can't you? But if you can't back it up with, how do you cope with all those learnings? How do you cope when things go wrong? I mean, that more in itself is key to anybody. You see it day in, day out. You've got to have the coping mechanisms, and for every problem, you've got to have the realization there's going to come a bigger problem. But the more skills you have, that bigger problem becomes smaller, and the next one, and so on, and keep going. But you're fine, and you can cope with all those things. And that's what we got from real life, and we're still doing it now. We're still learning now all the time, every day.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like some people, they might start something but never get far enough to even purchase properties. You managed to get past that though anyway. Yeah. But then you started hitting problems. Now that's then the next drop-off point where normally people were like, well, that wasn't a good experience, so I don't fancy putting myself in that position again. So yeah, you've talked a little bit about the mindset and everything else, but like what because you've done then numerous projects after that, after you've hit the one with the problems, like what was it that gave you the confidence to continue doing project after project after project, even when the problems kept showing up?
Two things, I think: coaching and being part of the wider real life group. So the mastermind sessions, being part of that network of people who were doing this day in, day out. And also, which is, I guess, kind of really emphasized a lot more when you do the in-training events. But for me, the biggest thing was understanding that property is all about problem solving. That's what it is. This is normal. Day in, day out, there's problem after problem after problem. And just having that support structure in place to have, first of all, our one-to-one coach to guide us through each individual problem that we faced, but then having access to that wider network of people to just say, oh, has this ever happened to anyone? What did you do? And 9 times out of 10, somebody's already dealt with it. They've already got a solution. There's already a person you can speak to. And suddenly it means that rather than being bogged down in some drama that's happened, which inevitably happens on every single project you do in a different form, suddenly there's a quick solution, and we can move forward. And you often talk about moving the needle and just having one step at a time. So taking us out of that overwhelm through the coaching to be, okay, well, what's the next step you can take? What's the next step? And being able to draw on the support of the wider network within the tribe, that's been the key for us, I think.
Yeah, and that breeds confidence, and that, ultimately you want the financial freedom, and you don't get that financial freedom by staying still. So to go and find different strategies and different deals, all what Katie just mentioned gives you the confidence to push forward and just keep going and keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and that's really become invaluable, really.
And the work you talk about with the 5 freedoms as well. So we've mentioned mindset quite a lot, but for me, certainly that's been massive. So having that what's referred to as the invisible work, so the morning routine, the health routine, the fitness regime, that's never something that's ever talked about in corporate as part of being successful. Yet without that, I could never have coped with that level of stress and managing kids and juggling everything else. That's what's kind of kept me clear, mentally clear, focused, and been able to drive forward. Whereas before, I'd just get distracted or waylaid by whatever was going on at home. So yeah, so it's a whole picture, all the different pieces of the jigsaw together.
Yeah. And you mentioned another thing that stops people, which is like what's going on in their personal life, what's going on at home. This can become then like it kind of takes over, and then it stops them using the vehicle of business and property to obviously, like I call it, like you got to succeed your way out. Like there's no point like squallering in the problem. Like you got to succeed your way out of it. That's why we always teach in, do multiple properties, do multiple deals, do multiple strategies, and you got to learn how to handle and run it as a business, not like these people who run all over the country trying to figure it out. So you also have raised a lot of investor finance. So not only did you have the pressure of the problems, but obviously you got the pressure of this. How much did you guys raise in private finance?
Over 4 million to date.
Wow, that's insane. Yeah. So 4 million. So people have trusted you with over 4 million pounds. And then obviously you've gone and leveraged and got money from the banks as well. Yeah. Tell us, like, what are some of the strategies that you guys have worked on to help build your cash flow and build this business?
In terms of raising investor finance?
No, the strategies. So like you've raised the finance from investors and partners. What are the different strategies? Because I know you've done a different strategies. You started off with buy to lets, but what else have you done?
So we did the buy to lets and development that Neil mentioned. We've done HMOs, we've done commercial to residential conversions, new builds. We're now looking at eco houses. So a bit of everything really. SA we dabbled in. We've now kind of moved back on that. The market's changed, so we've gone back into single lets. So yeah, a bit of everything really. But it's what you said, being agile and being able to adapt, because the market's changed so much.
Yeah, we've done a few flats, and we did the first development you mentioned, that was flats, and that's what Katie's on about. That was single lets, and eventually when the SA market was going, we'll try SA, but that didn't work out, so it's gone back to single lets. And then HMOs, we got quite a few of them now, haven't we?
Yeah.
All growing in different numbers, ranging from 6 beds to 9 beds. And then we built a property then. That was a challenging one, and that was another couple of flats. So that was cool.
And using creative finance strategies as well. So subject to planning, exchange of delayed completion, vendor finance or deferred consideration, option contracts. We're in the middle of one of those at the moment. So yeah, adapting as required to the properties and the market. So yeah, that's helped a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of strategies out there. There's a lot of information about different strategies, and some people say, hey, before you can actually go and buy properties, be a deal sourcer or do rent to rent, which, by the way, nothing wrong with that for those people that want to do it, if that is the strategy that's in line with getting their goals. And in fact, tomorrow something big might be announced in terms of how we can help even more people very, very quickly, for the people who want to get started on this and get some results like what you guys have. But let me ask you this. If we were to think about, like, there might be people listening to this wherever they're listening to, like, what can they do to move forward or get started or scale up based on wherever they are? What are the hardcore kind of principles and strategies that are like help you run a family? And like you said, one of your children has severe kind of health challenges that you have to deal with as well. So how do you do that and be in a relationship and run this business? What are some things you can share with people that will help them get moving in the right direction?
Go on. I'll think now.
So mine is what's helped a lot, in addition to what we do with Real Life, is Miracle Morning. So that morning routine of getting your head in the right place before you start the day. So that's free. It's free of charge. It's run by volunteers. It's just a mindset, like a mind gym for the morning, just to get your head in the right place, get you focused. But that on its own is not enough. It's that combined with coaching, having the one-to-one support, understanding how goals work, understanding how all the frameworks work that help us to move through business. But if it's something quick and easy just to get you started, if you've not even done anything in property, the Miracle Morning routine, and then reading books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, things like that help to explain like what is the connection between mindset and thought processes, framework, and being able to build a business, because this is what you don't get taught in corporate, and these are the fundamentals for me anyway.
Yeah, knowledge is key if you want to get into it. Just start something. If that's join real life. Get talking, get speaking. There's a wealth of experience on, and you're not going to move forward. You can move forward, but you're going to struggle, and there's no need to. Why do you have to?
Don't try on your own.
You've got a whole database of people there, and information, at your fingertips. So you use it, and and then you just get bold. And if you get bold, an educated strategy, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And any issues, you'll bounce off everyone else because they would have already done them, especially more experienced people.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just feed off that and you go again. And there'll be strategies for everything. There'll be finance for everything, ways of being creative. All the answers will be there.
But for anyone who's not part of Real Life, who's wondering what is all this about, go to a 2-day event. 2-day events are held throughout the year. They're very low level cost, and you get a huge insight into what this is all about and why so many people are having the success that they want from being part of it.
Yeah, very good. So what are some things that people should stay away from? Because again, there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of people claiming that, they can help them and give them this step and that step. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying there's stuff wrong with it per se, but like there's a lot of people out there not getting results. They're not seeing the fruits of any labor they put in or whatever, or maybe they don't even know how to get on track. So what are some things that people should stay away with based on your experience? What caused major challenges and upsets for you?
Well,
should stay away from, I think it's more like what I don't know, for me, like what should you do if you're interested in reaching out to, like, learning, being part of a group or going to do training, find out who's been trained by those people and what they're doing first. Don't just willy-nilly sign up to some provider that promises the earth, because like you said, there's so many out there that say, oh, you could make this much overnight, property's really easy, blah blah blah, and then there's no substance. So talk to people who are actually doing it directly, find out personal stories. Is it really what it's claimed to be? Because we know with Real Life it is, and that's why we're so passionate about sharing what's going on. But I know there's a lot out there I've seen people who have been part of these organizations who have been sold this dream of this is what it's about rather than the reality, and that gets very dangerous. Then it's important to know the full picture, what it's really like, how much graft is required, what is made up, what is it made up of being successful, and then talk to people that are already doing it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a fun element to having something new on the horizon. When people are saying you can have this and you can have that, there's a fun element to get excited. But there's also you need the backup with it. You need that there's going to be a lot of focus, a lot of drive, a lot of trust, and you get that. You certainly get that with Real Life. There's enough people there. It's like, you just soak it in and go.
Go for real.
Yeah. So you also talked about, you started in 2020. There was lots of changes. There's always changes happening, and tax, and the government wanted to tax more people, especially those that are wanting to be entrepreneurial and be in property. There's also like rules and regulations that change within the construction, within architecture, within the laws of like the councils and things. Like, how do you guys deal with that? How do you stay centered and continue to drive forward?
Just by implementing all the things that you've taught us.
Yeah, basically.
So all the disciplines we've got, and the new routines, the new mindset, the new frameworks, because it always changes all the time, and now it's just become, it's almost like it's background noise. It's how you say, you start off, your problems are this big and you're this big, but the more you grow as a person and the more you invest in yourself, the problems get smaller. The problems are still there, and generally they are bigger problems to deal with, but because we've grown as people, they're much easier to manage, and so it just becomes part of a routine. Whereas before, these problems would take us out, Now it's like, okay, well, it's just part of it, and there will be another drama, and this will go, whatever's going with like the interest rates at the moment, that will change. The economic wobbles there at the moment, that will change. We've seen it already. We've been in property for 6 years, and it's just been like that the whole time.
You just let you let go of the little voice that wants to keep you small. Yeah. You know, that's what you do. Keep learning.
So obviously you're coming across very calm, very centered. You've been through, the mill, as they say, and you've come out the other side of it. But can you remember any of like the little voices or any of like the disbeliefs or the doubts that obviously people just starting out, or maybe they've hit a few hurdles? Can you remember some of them that you can share and like some tips on how to overcome that?
It's one thing is looking at money like it's dirty. So kind of like if I have 4, 5, 6 million, 10 million pounds of the property, people are going to think I'm this and that, that kind of thing. And you soon realize that that's not the case at all. So that's one of the things that sort of keep you in that little box. I know I struggle with that for a bit.
What people think of you.
Yeah, what people think of you.
Yeah, that's a big thing, like not wanting to post on social media, not wanting to do Facebook Live, not wanting to do anything like this because of what people say. And I remember being in a meeting at the beginning where I was, they were talking about it's really important to post on social media. I don't want to do that. What's so-and-so going to think, or what people think of me, and blah, blah. And then there was a lady on there who said, what you've got to think about is what is more important, what other people may or may not think of you, or getting to where you need to go and achieving the goals that you've set. So for us, it was about having that ability to earn flexibly, to have the independence to be able to support our children and to be able to find a solution to our son's health problems. Now, I don't want to look back on my deathbed and think, oh, I could have really changed my whole life and the trajectory of my family, but I didn't because, I didn't want to do a post on Facebook. It's stuff like that. So we've had to learn how to think differently. We've had to learn, like Neil said, about money. Like there's, we brought up all of our generation's parents were post-war babies. So the mindset of that generation around money is not about abundance. It's a scarcity mindset because they didn't have anything. They had ration cards for food. There was no money in the UK after, in post-war Britain. So there's a lot of all of us, really, everyone I speak to, it's very much, you want to save for a rainy day, you want to work hard, have this long career for life, pay down your mortgage. So we've had to completely relearn how debt works, how equity works, how credit cards work, how they can be used to leverage to enable you to achieve what you're trying to do, how working with people on a private finance basis. Like I remember when I first started doing this, you can raise finance from people. Like, what? I'm not asking people for money. That's awful. You can't do that. Or be very British about it. And then I learned that actually we're providing a service. So now I'm really proud that with some of our investors, we're supporting their retirement. We are enabling them to not have to go back to work because they've put money with us, which is essentially now paying them a salary every month in interest. We're giving people options so they can invest in nice holidays for their kids. They've got the flexibility to do stuff they wouldn't have been able to do before. And so it's a service. So rather than asking for money, actually, we're in a position where we can do something really good with it. And it was, it's just kind of really changing the mindset around money. Like Neil said, it's not dirty. Money is empowering. It's not something that, money is just like rich people are evil. If you have money, you're going to be a bad person. It was actually, if you start from a position of abundance, you can do a lot to change things for the better. And like I was in the charity sector for quite a long time. And I remember thinking we could never do what we want to do because we're always dependent on the money coming from a funder, and the funder dictates to us. But imagine as a charity where you have your own money and you can start from a position of wealth, then suddenly your ability to contribute is much, much bigger than it would otherwise be. So, it's been a bit of a journey, hasn't it?
There's too much to think about.
Mind reset.
Yeah, massive mind reset.
I mean, fantastic. Your guys' journey has just inspired so many people. Whether you, I mean, obviously you do know of some of it, and but like there's a lot of it you don't realize. So I recommend you keep putting it out there, you know, and share it and inspire the people in the tribe and people maybe who are not in the real life tribe and whatever it is that they're doing. Because what you are proving here, you're proving that it can be done. You're proving that no matter what background, whether it's bankruptcy, whether it's in corporate sector, what conditioning, you know, 6 children, you know, health challenges, whatever, you know, you've always turned it around. You've always found a way. And, you know, most of all, you guys are always friendly to people, you know, and smiling and always just getting involved and being very sociable. So I think if there's anything anybody should do, it's, you know, follow you guys and just, you know, keep up with what you are doing, because that's probably a piece of inspiration that they need, yeah, in their life. So I appreciate you coming on here. I know we had some technical difficulties, but we made it in the end. It's been a bit fuzzy here or there, I can see, but thank you for everyone watching. Yeah, look, if there's any questions, message the questions into this feed. We will be obviously keeping up to date with it, and we can answer your questions. We'll point you in the right direction of whatever it is you guys need. Yeah. So please go ahead and do that, and stay tuned for tomorrow, because there's going to be big news. It's like 90% chance of some amazing news coming to set you up before the summer comes, so you can be super rich before you know it. Yeah, because if now's not the best time to get started and change your life, if now's not the time to work on yourself, if now's not the time to make a difference, then when is? That'd be the question. When is? Yeah. So thank you very much, guys, for coming on here. I really appreciate it. I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate everybody who put this podcast together. And next time we make it even smoother and even better. Thank you for that. Okay, till next time, you got to do the right thing for the right reason. You know why?
It's the only way you're going to discover your true potential.
Yeah, awesome team. Thank you. See you soon.
Bye-bye.